like so far we've been able to create two HR related agents. So one that just uses the LLMs, right? Use the LLMs, but doesn't really have any interaction with the world. It just uses what it knows within the model. And now we were able to just finish this oil one, right? That is able to interact with a database. And we see how, and also interact with a function, right? A tool function that we use for generating new UIDs, right? That's good, right? And we see how even from the model, we're able to the model is able to access data externally and use that data to prepare what it needs. So assuming maybe you were able to call something on the internet, find maybe what the weather is today. It could call maybe a search tool, maybe Google search or Tavali, right? And then get that data. And then once it gets that data, then it uses that to prepare its data. Now, that is nice. However, all this is nice and good, but we're an IoT class, right? And we care more about IoT. Basically, these examples were basically for us to understand the basic concepts of how these things work, right? And now we want to create something that talks with an MQTT, right? And there is this project I created. If you copy that, if you launch using the Docker container, the Docker YAML, right? You see there is an IoT simulator in here, right? So essentially what this is it's an IoT simulator. It depends on this broker. So if you launch it, you would also be launching this mosquito MQTT broker. So it's just a mosquito image, right? And basically it's also on the same Docker Hub, right, account, right? So you could download it. It's open. You can use it. Essentially what this does is this just generates IoT data from different devices. And once you launch it, you see the data coming in and you can access that data. It has some APIs. You can, send, to set a specific device, put on a specific device, put off some specific device. I will have to remember to copy the MD file. I don't think I added it, but I will have to remember to copy that and add that and upload that to Docker, right? If I have it. Right? I'm not sure if I did at this point, but it looks like I did not, right? But anyways, we're going to use it, and then later I'll copy the MD file so you can get more information about what the agent really is and how it really works. That's fine. You don't need the code. It's just anybody can build that, right? So we're going to use this to generate our IoT data, and it's also a server, so it can collect data and set a particular device. It has a database in it, right? It will create a database in it. A SQL-like database, right? And it uses that, you can see that here, right? So it uses that to know what state the specific device is in, right? So that's all good. But first, before we get there, let's build our agent. So what do we want to do? So basically, we have this already, right? And we're going to use the same process. The data comes in, it gets into the classifier. The classifier sends it to the switch, and the switch will send it to the different processes we want to do on our IoT device, right? One could be for sending data, another could be for telemetry, and another could be maybe for turning off or turning on a particular device. It just depends, right, what it needs. And so let's do this. Let's save this again, but we'll save it as a new workflow. And we will call it IoT React Agent. Okay, yeah. So again, just remember that this tool is a work in progress. I built this tool. I put it out there. It's good. We're using it in this class. That's part of a larger application that I'm working on in my free time. But again, if you like the tool, or if you have any questions about the tool, or if, you see any problems, I haven't really, done QA for everything. All right. So I'm still building it at this point. It's not ready fully. It's still in version 0.0.1. So it's brand new tool, right? I just uploaded yesterday, right? So again, if you have any questions about the tool, feel free to reach out. But you could use it for this project. It's there. It's on Docker Hub. You can get it. and use it. So let's get back. So we've created our IoT React agent, right? And now what do we want to do? First of all, our classifier has to be different, right? Now, this classifier is for HR, right? So what do? We have to change that. We're going to give this, and again, in the thing you downloaded, I'm going to, from the Git repository, I'm going to add everything there for you. I already did with some of it. So let's see the IoT agent. And there's the classifier. So the identity. You're an IoT for the classifier. You're an IoT request classifier. Your job is to analyze user requests and route them appropriately. So I'm going to copy that. And that is the identity. Remember, the classifier is also an AI agent, right? Now, let's also get the classification cases. We're also telling it that, okay, there are going to be 3 cases that you need to classify with, right? Update device, turn on or off a device, and then get the latest telemetry. And we told it the different things. There's a bunch of stuff here, right? So we told it what it could be when a user is trying to do, change a device, the keywords it should be looking for. Now, the agent doesn't really need it at this stage. It probably knows it's it's a huge agent. We're using ChatGPT, one of, if not the best, one of the best out there, right? So we're just going to copy this, right? And we're going to copy and we're going to paste that in the classification instructions. We're going to use the same classifier output. The classifier output is just where we saved the data that's coming out of the classifier so that the switch can pick it up. So now we have everything we need in the classifier. It knows its identity. It knows what it's supposed to do. And we've told it, this is your job. Just do this, right? But we need to tell what categories we're looking for. And so let's copy that from here. We have one for updating a device. We have another one for turning on and off a device. And then we have a third one for the telemetry. Okay, so now this is done. We have a new classifier that can classify data for IoT. That's simple, right? Very easy. Now we're going to go to our switch, right? Switch is looking for the same output. So we're going to give it one for the telemetry, right? One for the on and off. And one for the device updates. So we do not have an HR agent anymore, unfortunately. We now have an IoT classifier, no longer a HR classifier. Now, what do we want to do? So let's start with the update device, right? So we're starting with the update device. Okay. So with the update device, we give it an identity. You are an IoT device configuration agent. Your job is to update the device settings such as min, max, values, units, other configurations and parameters. We do not know all of it, but we know these are some of it, right? Copy. And here, paste. Let's call it update agent. Let's say update device. Let's say, all right, just weird. Device update, I think it's fine. So we've set the identity, right? And input and target, we don't like, that's fine. We can keep it because this is how, especially the output, it's how we get the output. And the input also is how it gets the message. But we don't need the input. I think we more need the output to send it out. Right, so we have to change the instructions. So let's get these instructions out. And now we will add the instructions. So we're telling it that, okay, you have one tool MQTT request response, and it's going to be used for sending commands. And we have a bunch of information here about how to use the tool, how the commands are. Because one of the things to notice is you have to really tell it what to do, because if not, it's not going to know, right? It's going to guess. And that's where the hallucination comes in, and then you can have problems with your system. So give it as much information as possible. And so we've already formatted all this here. You can copy it. We even have examples of how to use it. And you can see examples of how to use it. Basically, we're telling it like, hey, this is the stuff. I need you to use it correctly. Do not make any mistakes, right? And so let's copy that, right? Sure. And we're gonna put that here in the instructions, right? And that is it. That's all we need. Oh, we missed a few things. Okay. So we told it it has certain tools, but we haven't set those tools. So there's one tool, MQTT request response, right? So we're gonna take out these old tools that we had here. And we're gonna add the MQTT tool. And we're gonna say it's the request response tool. And you can see in here, there's also more examples that the agent can read, because it'll get the information about the tool from the tool itself. And we added more examples in there about how to use this tool, and so that the agent can read it and get that information and be able to use it, right? And we have the tool. So we're gonna save that tool. So this one just needs one tool, right? And that's the MQTT request response tool. Let's see this one. Right. Now, looking at the billing support agent. Oh, sorry. I forgot. This is this is our previous agent. Okay. So now we're looking at the which one do we do next? 1 second. Working at the turn on and off agent, right? So we'll call it on off device, right? We need an identity. So this is the identity. You're an IoT device control agent. Your job is to enable or disable IoT devices based on the user's request, right? So we're going to change that. And we're going to input source, output source. That's fine. We're going to change the instructions. More detailed instructions for the on-off device agent. So here's the instruction. This has 3 tools. It has a tool for MQTT request response, right? So it can get a response from one device. Oh, sorry, MQTT request response, right? So for single device control, right? It also has the IoT bulk publish for bulk, sending to multiple devices, and then it has a subscription tool that it can use to subscribe. And again, a ton of information about how it can use it, examples, references, and all of that, so that it doesn't make any mistake. Because if it doesn't have enough, if this doesn't have enough information, it's gonna hallucinate, and it's gonna start making calls the wrong way, and you might have your agent not working properly or not calling the right tool, right? So we need to make sure it knows what to use, right? So we're going to paste that in here, right? So that does that for that. And now let's add the tools. There are 3 tools, right? So make sure about that, right? So I'm going to take out the current tools in here. 1, 2. We're going to add the request response tool, MQTT request response. So we'll go to MQTT request response, and we save that tool, right? And then we're gonna go to the bulk publish one. We're gonna go to MQTT, right? Bulk publish, and we're gonna save that one. And then it also needs the MQTT subscribe. And so basically we're gonna go here. We're gonna go to the MQTT subscribe, and then subscribe and wait, right? So MQTT subscribe. So those are the tools that it needs, right? And the definition of how to use the tools already in there. Now, you may notice that when you open this tool again, right, it will have the name of the agent that's calling it appended to it. That's fine, right? That's really fine. It's the way it's designed right now. You can change the tool, the way it's designed right now, you can change the tool specific for the agent if you wanted, right? But I guess in the future, we'll do it a little different where you can create a tool maybe in the settings view and then reference that tool so they're all the same. So, but because of the way it's designed right now, we have it that way. Guess I was rushing while designing, but it works. So this is good. I think we have the instructions, right? We have the identity, and we're good on this agent. This agent should know what it needs. Now we're going to change this one, and that should be our telemetry agent, right? So let's go, and we're gonna get the telemetry agent here, and we have an identity for it, right? So basically, we have, you are an IoT telemetry agent. Your job is to receive current sensor readings and device status information. That is very correct. So let's put that for the identity agent. And then the tool, so it has two tools, MQTT subscriber and the request response. And we told it everything that it needs. You can see here, we told it the actual tool names available may have a prefix, i.e., right? We told it that, that what I said, like, and then we said, okay, that may have that. Just know that when you're calling the tool, so that you know that these examples don't have that because we don't know what the real tool name is when we're adding it. So basically, it's just, you have to give it enough information so it knows what it's working with, right? If not, it will call the wrong thing, or it will do the wrong thing. And so now we have this copied, right? So let us now update this. And with this updated, now we have two tools that we need to add. MQTT subscribe. So let's go ahead and delete this, guys. Add the tool for IoT MQTT and subscribe and wait. Right. And then we're gonna save that tool. Right. Just make sure. Okay. And then we're gonna add another tool for MQTT request response. I think those are the two tools that it requires. Okay. So now our agent is complete, right? So we've set up everything. Once it gets data, it will classify it. The switch will take care of routing it to the correct place. Once it routes it, then we get a response. Now, it could be more complex than that, but basically this is just a simple agent. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to launch this agent, right? Okay. So now let's open it in Jupyter Lab. And everything should be as is. We already have this requirement satisfied from previously. So this one, you can see there's some extra things added here, right? We're using IoT messaging, so we need to uncomment these two just to make sure. I think pip should already, Firehole MQTT should already be installed by default, but we're gonna need to enable Firehole MQTT client, because that's the library we're using for MQTT, and we don't need this. I think we already have UUID previously. Yeah, I don't think we need any of this. Okay, so we just need this too, I think. So let's run that. Just make sure. Yep. So we already had file MQTT from previously, right? And now let's run this. I should have my key already, so it should be good there. Let's run the actual code. So the code is long. So you can see all the stuff we added in there, right? That we told it about the agent. You You see all that is in there and everything. All right, so now let's run the flow, right? So, you know, the graph, it's the same graph. We just used basically the same graph from the previous example, right? And that's why I used it, because it's just the same flow. But you can have more complicated things, but this kind of shortens our time. And now let's run the agent. Oh, it's saying it's a HR agent. Maybe we should just exit. But again, you get it, right? So we didn't have that because, we just have to come here. But again, it doesn't really matter, right? Just put that as IoT, right? Again, that's not a big deal. I just like having that for completeness, basically. All right, and then we go here, open. We already know this works, so we'll just run this guy, we'll run this guy, run that guy, run this guy, run that guy, run this guy, run that guy. That is the graph, right? Everything looks good. We switch it, and then we go to the different agents. Oh, again, I think we didn't update the names. We did the first one, device update. Well, it looks like we didn't do the others. Okay, so maybe we'll go back because the names might be confusing from the graph, right? So let's go back here. So we did device update. We did on-off device. HR support was the one that was confusing, right? So that will be telemetry update, right? Well, let's say telemetry agent. That should be fine. Save to database, update that workflow, and then we'll go and load it to Jupyter Lab. Again, we don't need that one. Let's run multiple times. And now I think that looks better, right? So we have the update device, we have the on-off. So if it requires to do an on and off, we'll go there. And then we have the node telemetry agent right here. Now we can now run our agent, right? Now it asks, okay, I'm a helpful IoT agent. How can I help you? Now we're dealing with MQTT. We don't have our MQTT server yet running, right? So I think we probably want to have that running together with the simulator, right? The devices all need to be online. So I'm gonna go back here, and that's why we have this simulator. It just helps, right? So in the next series of this video, we're actually going to try to put on and off real devices, right? But for now, you can see data is on the simulator, and the simulator is started together with so this is the data simulator and the mosquito broker, right? So basically these two have been started, and we can now use them. So right now they're sending data, and how do we know? We can maybe reduce this view a little bit. We reduce this. And then if you have MQTTX, it's a great tool, right? So if you have MQTTX, it's a great tool for this kind of thing, right? And basically I'm running this on my Mac. Yeah, there's also MQTTX for Windows. And if you look at it, the configuration, we just have the name. It's connected to localhost. You can see it's on port 1883, which should be the port my mosquito broker is on, right? 1883. So it's not the TLS port. So 1883, and just the normal settings. Like you don't have to change the others. All you need is just these guys. And this is usually by default anyways. Yeah, that's all. And now so I have a few topics here that are set up so we can connect. So now I'm connected to the broker, right? And there are a few topics here that I left open that are important, right? Like this one, IoT request, IoT response, device, temperature sensor 01/command, device humidity sensor 01/command, devices pressure 01/command, device status, and then this is off for now, IoT data. Just in case, if you want to see all the data coming in, right, we can maybe put on this one, right? Sends data every 5 seconds. Just there's gonna be too much data coming in, right? So you can see that the simulator is actually working. It's sending a ton of data. The reason why I have it off is there's just gonna be too much stuff happening, and we won't be able to understand what is really happening, right? And so for now, I'm just gonna turn this off, right? And I will add all this also in the MD file. Hopefully, I remember to do that. I'm just gonna clear that history off because I want us to see what is happening, right? And so that's really all we need, right? That's really all we need. So now let's go ahead and ask some questions. Let's go ahead and ask some questions and see if our agent can work with that, right? So put this here so we can see that clearly. So I'm going to ask, what devices and their IDs do I have? Also, show all the device status. So let's see how it works. Okay, this is gonna be a tricky one. So we see the classifier classify this and said, this is a telemetry request. Looks like we're trying to get the, and then it called the switch, and you can see some data is already coming back, and we're gonna study what happened there, right? So some data is already coming here that it made, and you can see it got all the devices. It says, okay, assistant, here are the details of all the available devices and your current status. So it gave me all the devices, right? But it didn't make, if you notice here, it didn't make one call. It didn't. It made multiple calls. So it must have used multiple tools, right? Or used the same tool multiple times. So remember we talked about that, right? We said if tool are needed, it keeps executing until it's done. It tried to make sure it was able to answer all the requests, right? So let's go back and see what happened. It gave the devices, their IDs, their type, the temperature, so the units. It gave you everything, listed everything, and their statuses also, right? Because I asked for the status and I asked for the list of the devices, right? And it provided everything that's needed. What happened, right? It sent the first request. You could see it here on IoT request. It says, give me the list of all the devices. This is the request that this is the, in the description, right? In the comments we gave to it, this is what we told it should call if it wants to get a list of devices. And it sent a request and said, get me the list of all the devices, which is what happened here, right? And so what did we do in the IoT response, which is the response topic for that kind of data? We got all these devices back. So these are the list of devices. This is how it got them. And then when it got the device, right? You can see there's some hallucination going on here. This is not supposed to be here. Correlation ID, because we're not really using it. It's not part of the description. I'm not sure why it sent it. But again, it's fine. It did the right thing anyways, right? After it got the device, it then says get status for temperature 1, right? Temperature sensor 1. So it knew what to do. It first got the devices because the status is not in the device. This just gets you the list of devices. This just gets you the total list of devices that you have and not the status. And now it's asking, it made a request for a command to get the status of temperature sensor 1. And it received that data here, right? And then it made another request and it says, get me the status of humidity sensor 1, right? It got humidity sensor 1's status. It got then it asked for the status of pressure sensor 1, same thing, got the response. Flow sensor 1, same thing, got the response. And then tank sensor 1, right? And so that is how it got all the statuses, right? For all the devices, right? So basically, because I only have a few of them open. I didn't have all of them open, right? So basically that's how it got the statuses of all of them, right? And once it got it, that's how it's now able to get this information. So you can see that this is funny, right? We have an LLM agent talking through MQTT to a service and getting data about device information. Imagine you have a factory or something, or imagine you have multiple devices out there. You design multiple devices out there in the real world, and you're trying to maybe make some sort of prediction or some sort of analysis, on your devices. The agent can think about it. What do I need to do? Make the request to the devices, get me all your statuses, get me all your error, and look at that information and kind of classify or think about what to do next, right? Again, this is just a simple use case, but this is what the power of agentic IoT. This is how you can see, how this can be used in the real world to communicate with devices. Maybe some real device, somewhere out there in the real world is listening to that topic, and the agent is talking to it, and it's able to monitor what's happening with that device in real time, and it's able to understand if there's a problem with it. It maybe uses a RAG model, a RAG database, right, to figure out what's happening based off what's there, and based off the RAG database, it then makes, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do on this device, and automatically sends the response. You don't need to code all of that. The agent can understand it, right? And that is the power here of agentic IoT. So let's ask another question. This is cool. So let's say, turn off the flow rate sensor. So now we're calling devices by name, right? Turn off the flow rate sensor, right? I'm going to clear this. History. Do I have the, probably don't have, let's see. So let's open the one for, let's open this to, you know what, let's do this. I copy that. I'm going to add a new topic, right? And I'm going to call it, what's the ID? Do we know the ID of flow rate sensor? I think I'm going to copy that because I'm not listening on that topic. So I'm going to just copy that and then paste that here. Before we start that. So I'm going to connect to that topic, right? So that's flow sensor. We have that. Make sure this is cleared. And now we're going to say, turn off flow rate sensor. What happens, right? It's going to take that information, classify it, and then figure out what to do next. And what did it do? You can see that's why I added this, right? It sent the disable command to the flow rate sensor, right? And then the flow rate sensor responded. The server responded that flow rate sensor status action, is disabled, right? The device is still online. You could still talk to it, but the action is disabled, so it's no longer working. And now if I tell it to get the status of, so it uses either, it can understand, it uses the ID or the name because it has the context. So let me just use the ID. Remember, the first request we made was made using the ID, right? And it knew what it was made using the name, and it knew what to do. Now, this one we're making now, we're going to use the ID to make that. And if we do that, get the status of flow sensor 1, and you can see that it sent that, and it got the value, right? Right? So enabled is known. This device is currently disabled. That is funny, right? So how cool would it be if you had an agentic system, right? Agentic IoT system connected to maybe some kind of voice, service, right? That can listen to voice and convert it to text, and you're able to talk to it just like you would do to your normal Echo, your normal Google Home. And based off of that, it can control whatever device that you set it to. You don't even have to code it. It knows what to call. It knows what method to call, how to call it, and you don't even have to start writing a ton of code to make that work, right? You just have to define the functions properly and give it instructions on how to use it. This is good. It's a game changer to how IoT can be used in the future, right? Even today, basically, a lot of devices today are getting things done this way, right? Now, let's go ahead. Let's ask one last question, right? We're going to ask it about two different sensors this time. So I'm going to clear this off and let's see what it does. What is the value of, you know what, let me just copy the IDs. I'm just going to ask it, so what's the value of temperature sensor 1, of the temperature sensor 1 and humidity sensor 1, right? Now let's send again. What happens? It's going to take that value, classify it as telemetry. It should go to the telemetry agent, right? And it executes the telemetry agent and it got the data. Remember, it's just getting live telemetry. It didn't use any of the ones. It's probably using these ones that are very noisy that gets the data every 5 seconds. So it knows to listen on that until it gets the data and then it got it. Now, remember, this is using the telemetry agent. That used the telemetry agent. What it did, okay, this also used the telemetry agent. Oh. So this first one was telemetry agent. Our second one was on-off device agent. Our third one was also telemetry agent. So again, we can basically, it can, make any change you want, right? So let's see if we can use something with the update device agent. Let's try that. Let's say update the status of pressure sensor 01. I think I had it here. To disabled. And reduce. Oh, let's do that first, right? Update this disable, right? So you can see it disabled pressure sensor 1, right? And what did it use here? It used on off again. I'm not sure why it's not using. Anyway, it has to do with the instructions, but it did the right thing either way. So maybe the way I wrote the instruction, it probably looked better than on off. Though, because disable means like on off, right? So let's assume, let me see, I don't have the .md file here. So let me do this. Let me clear this. And let's do this. Get the status of temp. Let's see what it does there. Okay, now that we have this, all right, let's see what it does here. I'm looking for the device description. So we should be able to, let me look for the MD file. Okay, so let's say get the minimum and maximum settings value of temp sensor zero. All right, so let's see what it does here. Okay, So it got the min and the max, right? This is what I needed, right? And it used should use the telemetry there. Now let's do something. Let's set now we know the minimum is 18 and the maximum is 35, right? Set the temp sensor 01 min to move it up to 20, right? And max to 80, right? So we know the current value is 18 and 35. So now we're going to update that, right? So let's do that. And yeah, so this used device update. Now that was what I wanted to do, right? So you can see now it used it knew that was a device update. And so what it did now is you can now see that the latest value is now 20 and 80, right? So basically it was able to figure out how to set the settings based off of what we told it and set that value. All right, I think that's a long one. And it's cool to see how this works. It's cool to see how we can put this together with an AI agent and talk to an IoT device. You know, even though today we're not using a real IoT device, I'll need some time to put that, tutorial together. But even though we're using a server, like a simulator server, which is really more like as close as you can get to real world, right? Talking to an actual device, right? So basically it connects to a service, talk to the service, and be able to set and update values on that service or even get data from that service. So just imagine what you can do with that. You can improve your manufacturing process. You can improve your lighting process, right? You can improve automotive. You can improve petroleum machineries that are, working in petroleum and different types of applications. General applications that require IoT connectivity can be improved or controlled using AI. Now, there are some things you have to watch out, right? There's a lot of hallucinations still going on. So you need to be careful and you need to design and have the right architecture to make this work. So this is a long one and I'm going to stop here for today. Again, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please, 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 I need your subscriptions. They're really helpful. Please subscribe to my channel. Like, subscribe, share this video, and also click on notifications so that if I have new notifications, you'll get them. And I will see you in the next one.